What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to TCG Madness. And today I have another altered TCG hero deck review. Today we are going to be looking at Auraq Kibble for Lyra. So we are going to continue on going through all the heroes for altered TCG and making a deck for each hero. So we have 2 for Lyra, and then we are going to go over to Ordris, and hopefully we'll get all these heroes done before January in anticipation of the new set from Altered TCG. And today's deck review is titled 0 to Hero, and you'll see exactly why. In this deck review, I'll be going over the hero, I'll be going over all the cards individually and why I put them in. Then we'll take a look at some of the stats, and then we'll shift our focus over to a sideboard that I built, just in case maybe I missed something, or maybe there's other cards that I think maybe might be paired well. If you go in a different direction, these are the cards that I would sideboard, or maybe if you take these cards to a tournament and you want to sideboard something in case you run up against maybe like an Ordris or a Muna or something like that. Sometimes I like to give you guys a couple of different options because, as I've stated in before, and I know I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but the beauty of Altered TCG is there are multiple ways of building these decks, and that really is the beauty and the fun of Altered TCG. So please right now, if you're watching, do me a big favor. You guys know the drill. Hit that like button. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to also comment down below if you guys agree or disagree with anything I did with this deck. If you guys want to pause the video right now, take a good look at what I've already built for you guys so you guys can get a good idea of what we're going to be talking about here. Again, if you guys agree, disagree, comment down below. I love the conversations that we've been having, and again, I really do feel that way about Altered TCG, that there's not just one way to build a deck, there's multiple ways of building it, and that really is the beauty. So if you see something like, maybe you should do this a little bit differently, maybe if you take out this and add this, you might give it a little more power, all that kind of stuff, again, please comment down below. And actually, in this deck, I do have a couple of uniques for you guys that I actually do own, and I've actually already scanned, and I've actually put in this deck, and you guys already can see them right now. So before we get into all that, let's go ahead and talk about the hero, Auraq Kibble. Of course, it's a Lyra hero, pretty standard, 2 reserve, 2 landmarks. It does state, when you play a character with a base statistic of 0, I gain a performance counter, hence the name of this deck, 0 to Hero. At noon, you may spend 5 of my performance counters to reveal a top card of your deck. You may play it for free or put it into your hand. That is a very, very, very powerful ability in and of itself because of a couple of things. Number one, anytime you play anything with 0 in a character, you're going to be able to gain a performance counter. And it doesn't say just once per turn or once per day, which is excellent. So not twice per day, not 3 times, no, as many times as you can, you'll be able to gain a performance counter. Now, with that being said, we want to try and gain and use this hero's ability at least 2 to 3 times in a game. By being able to do that, you should be able to pretty much do the best you can to resource and go through your deck and basically play cards for free or get that into your hand, and basically you should have the advantage over your opponent. So again, we need a lot of cards with 0 in their statistics that have cheap mana cost, so we can outgain our opponent, outperform our opponent, and be able to really capitalize on this hero ability. How we're going to do that? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the deck I built. Starting off, we do have a rare Osmodeus. This is a big win condition for your deck. He is a 5/5 for a 4/4/4. Roll a die. On a 4+, I gain Anchor. On a 1 through 3, I gain 3 boost. The only reason why this card is in your deck, I know it doesn't synergize with your hero, but the only reason why is just a couple of things. This is really a good big body boy right here that you can also get anchored with, and you can also gain a couple of boosts. So you can turn those 4s into 7s, or you're going to be able to have him stick around twice in a day, or in 2 days, excuse me, because he will gain anchored. Either or, we're good with either ability. He has a big body win condition. He's really powerful. He's really strong. And again, Lyra is all about risking it for the biscuit, pretty much gambling it. We're putting it all on black, right? We're going to roll a couple of dice here and there, and hopefully it pays off for us. Next up, we do have one of the uniques that I do own. This is a Paper Herald. It's a 1/1 for a 1/0/1, so that 0 will be able to help you gain a performance counter. And it does say, when you play out of your hand, up to 1 target character gains fleeting. So it's a little bit like pseudo removal. He also has a great ability right down here, a quick action, create an Ordris recruit soldier token. So it's pretty much a little bit of a diversity character, right? If he goes to your reserve and you're like, I don't really want to pay that 1, or I just need an extra 1 somewhere on my expedition to just gain me that boost to either advance or to stymie my opponent, you'll be able to have that flexibility of just paying that quick action and just creating that token. So pretty good there. Next up, we have 3 copies of a Lyra Thespian. It's a 2/2 for 2 across the board. If you have 3 or more base statistics of 0 among characters you control, I gain a boost. Yes, I know the rares also says it's the same thing, but it gains 2 boosts. I went with the common version. Obviously, you'll see why, because I went with a couple of different rares. But yes, an argument can be made to go with the rare version of this. Next up, I went with 3 copies of the Ouroboros Trickster. It's a 2/2 for zeros across the board. Roll a die on a 4+, I gain 3 boost. On a 1 through 3, I just gain 1 boost. So pretty good there. And again, we'll be able to, pop off with our hero because it does have the zeros in it as well. So you'll be able to gain those performance counters. Next up, we have 3 copies of a Hather. It's a 2/3 for a 3/3/0. And it also has a quick action, return another card from your reserve to your hand, which gives you a little bit more flexibility. The reason why this card is in the deck is just because it has good stats and it also has that 0 right there, so we'll be able to gain a performance counter. Pretty much almost every card has to at least have a 0 somewhere in there. We want that ability for our hero because we want to gain as many performance counters as we can, because we want to at least go, again, 2 to 3 times in a game to use that hero's ability. Next up, we have 3 copies of the rare Esmeralda. It's a 2/3 for, again, 0/2/2, and it has resupply. So basically, play out of your hand or out of your reserve, put the top card of your deck in your reserve, which will give you a little more advantage cycling through your deck, finding the cards that you need. Next up, we also have 2 copies of a Lyra Navigator. It's a 2/3 for 0/0/4. Again, just that good base stat of 4 in the ocean, and it also will pair up really well with your Lyra Thespian because, again, there's a couple of zeros in there. Next up is the other unique that I do own. This is a Youngsu Burden Weaver. It's a pretty powerful one, actually. It's a 3/4 for a 4/4/3. When you play out of your hand or out of your reserve, if you have 3 or more base statistics of 0 among characters you control, you may return a card from your reserve to your hand. Also has another quick action. Next character you play this turn gains a boost. This ability right here on this unique is pretty damn good, and it really pairs up really well with this deck. Again, gives you that nice flexibility. If there's a card in your reserve that you're either afraid your opponent's gonna maybe like sabotage it, maybe you're going up against Yasmir and you're just afraid, or something else, or maybe that card is cheaper to play out of your hand, maybe it has an out of hand ability. This card is going to go really, really well with this deck. It's also a pretty good body at a 4/4/3. Not gonna pop off with your hero, but that's okay because that really is a nice ability right there to have that flexibility of bouncing something from your reserve back to your hand. Pretty good there. It also will help you get around fleeting and other stuff like that, so pretty good card there. Next up, we have 3 copies of the rare Tanuki. It's a 3/3 for a 3/3/0, and again, we like that because, again, that'll help us gain a performance counter. He also has, when you play out of your hand, Sabotage, and then out of your reserve, roll a die on a 4+, Sabotage again. I like this card because I do like sabotaging my opponents. I have noticed when you're starting to play a little more skill-based opponents, that they do like to really stash some cards into their reserve and pretend like you don't know that it's there, and I love nothing more to just absolutely sabotage them. So pretty good card to have in your back pocket. Next up, we have 3 copies of the Lyra Cloth Dancer, 3/2 for 0/3/2. Up to 1 target character gains fleeting. So again, we're giving more cards fleeting, a little bit of pseudo removal, which is pretty good for this deck. Has that 0 right there, so we will gain a performance counter. And then last but not least, we have the Hatter. It's a 4/4 for a 5/0/5. Pretty powerful card there. Again, you're going to gain a performance counter and pretty good stats, that 5/0/5. And then it also has a quick action. Target character with a hand cost of 3 or less gains anchored. So that could help you in some scenarios. Those are all the characters right there. We do have no permanents. Let's go ahead and talk about the spells. Pretty standard here. We have Acapella Training, 1/1, target character gains fleeting. We also have Twinkle Twinkle, 2/2, target character gains sleep, which is, again, like pseudo anchored, but it can also work for you, and it can also work against your opponent as well. Pretty flexible card there. We also have Cloth Cocoon, which pairs really well with Twinkle Twinkle. It's a 3/3. Discard target fleeting, anchored, or asleep character. So that's pretty good there. And also discard target permanent. So really good card to pair up with Twinkle Twinkle. And then we have 3 copies of All In. Roll a die. Target character gains X boost, where X is the result. Again, pretty strong. You roll a 6, you're going to gain 6 boost. It's a really strong card. So that is the deck itself. Let's go ahead and jump over to the stats. We are pretty much right where we want to be. We have lows on the 1s, but we're heavies on the 2s and 3s for both hand cost and reserve cost. A couple of 4s and 5s. For the attributes, pretty good attributes here. 56 in the forest, 55 in the mountain, 57 in the ocean. We're pretty much even all across the board. So again, really good there. And then 12 spells, 28 characters. So I really do like this deck a lot. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Think I missed something? There are a couple of cards that I do think might be able to slip into this deck, but maybe you have to do a little bit of deck manipulation, like maybe take out Tanuki and put up another card that I'll talk about on the sideboard of things. So let's go ahead and jump over to the sideboard and show you guys some cards that I would take a look at if you wanted to go into a different direction with this deck. So the first card that I would sideboard would be the Bravos Pathfinder. It's a 2/2 for 0/3/3 if you want a little more extra boost to your statistics. And your attributes, definitely look no further than Bravos Pathfinder for, a 2-drop. You're going to get 3s across the board, and you will have that 1/0, which will be able to help with the performance counters. Next up, we do have the rare Lyra Thespian. I did mention this earlier in the video. I do think the rare is also pretty powerful as well. You just have to do a little bit of deck manipulation, but I do think maybe you can squeeze this one in. It's a 2/2, 2 across the board. If you have 3 or more base statistics of 0 among characters you control, gain 2 boosts. You turn that 2s into 4s. Pretty powerful there. Next up, we also have Sandman. Now, this is the card that I think is the most unique with this deck, because we do have a lot of cards that can possibly and potentially put cards asleep. With the Sandman, he's a 3/2 for a 0/3/3, so you're going to gain that performance counter. And also, when you play your hand, up to 1 target character gains asleep, you may have it gain 2 boosts. This can do 2 things for you. Number one, if you're looking to remove something, this pairs really well with Cloth Cocoon. You put something on your opponent's side of the board asleep, you drop Cloth Cocoon, it's gone. Also, if you have something on your side of the board that maybe you want to stick around for another turn, like the Hatter, or the Trickster, or even Asmodeus if you're lucky enough to have that many mana, you put them asleep, you give them basically pseudo anchor, you also give them 2 boosts, they're buffed, they're big, and they're ready to go on the next day. This will help you get ready for a big board play. If you're looking to really boost as many things as possible, you're like, all right, I have to bet it all in black, I just need to advance 1, I'm at least ahead of my opponent, I can risk this day, it's fine, we'll lose this day, it's okay, it's not a big deal, and then we're going to get ready for the next day, and we're really going to go all in here. This will really help you with that. So it's a very, very flexible character. It will help you gain a performance counter. It has decent stats. It's also cheap at your reserve. It only works though playing out of your hand, this ability, so make sure you remember that. So I do think this card might have might be able to slip into the deck itself. Next up, we also have Lyra Chronicler. This is a very, very powerful card. It's a 3/3 for a 4/0/4. If you want better stats, look no further. It also has the quick action of resupplying, so you get that as well. And then the other card is the Ouroboros Croupier. It's a 4/4 for a 0/5/5. Even the generic version will be pretty good too. But it does have, when you play out of your hand, roll a die on a 4+, draw a card on a 1/3 resupply, and then also has the quick action. The next card you play this turn costs 1 less. The rare version has weaker stats, and it does not have this. But it still has this ability right here. So again, if you want a little more dice rolling, this card can easily slip in the deck. I just didn't want to go too heavy with the dice rolling. However, if you do go heavy with the dice rolling and you want to go a little more of that, I did have this one permanent that I would recommend. It basically is the Ouroboros Lyra Bastion. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus 1, ignore the roll of the one of them of your choice. So again, if you go with a little more dice rolling with this deck, I do think there might be an argument to be made, but again, I really don't see it really being added to this deck unless you really went all in. Who knows what the next set looks like if we get more dice rolling, which I anticipate that we will, and maybe then there could be a stronger argument. But that is going to do it. One more quick thing I would like to show too. Robin Hood, the out of faction rare Robin Hood, may also be pretty good with this deck as well. Just want to go ahead and slip that in there, just a little honorable mention. That is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. If you made it this far, please hit that like button. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you guys would change anything up, again, please comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love, interacting and talking about things that could be done a little bit differently. I do think this deck is pretty good. This hero is pretty powerful, and again, if you can get that ability to go off 2 to 3 times in a game, I do think you will have the upper advantage on your opponent. Maybe there's some better uniques that maybe you guys have. If you guys want to comment and talk about some of the uniques you have, please, love to hear from you guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. See you guys next time.